Welcome, everyone, to episode 134 of Rangers Ed, presented by Lucarelli Law. If you're in Florida and need a lawyer, call Lucarelli Law. Tell them the boys at Rangers Ed sent you. This is your host, Cousin Ed. I'm here with my co-host, Little Ed. What's up, bud?
How we doing, cuz? Made it home just in
Good.
time today.
Yeah, working. And Coach Ed over there. What's up, Coach?
What's up, fellas? Exciting to
Not
be
much.
part of the podcast situation again.
Yeah. What?
Well, the Rangers
You're
are
part
on a
of
nice
it?
roll, so it's exciting to be doing the show again.
Oh,
Not having to
gotcha.
go into it.
You're
negative.
looking forward. You're looking forward to it again.
The way you said it,
You
it sounded like
worded
you
it-
took
yeah,
like a
you
leave of
worded that.
absence or something,
Yeah.
and now you're
It's
back.
like we've only been gone for a week.
wasn't really sure, but yeah, we got a big episode here. Rangers playing obviously better, a tough game at the end there. We'll talk about it, but first, let's bring on PJ. Let's introduce PJ. He's joining the show, helping us out here. What's going on, PJ?
Happy to be here. Honored. How's everyone doing?
Doing well. So PJ's joining us, helping us with some producing. You guys might know him on X at what is it, the Real PJs?
Real PJS, yeah. This kind of was back in the day when
PJ.
everyone was trying to like get verified or like realize who was the real people. It was like a stupid joke back in the day with my initials.
No,
How
yeah,
long-
everyone's.
How long have you been listening to the show and been involved? Like, I don't remember if you were there from the beginning.
No, I mean I wish I could say I was, but I met Cousin Ed in Toronto for the Lundqvist induction. We met at a bar. He sat next to me, and I recognized his Rangers hat from the Q&A. So we
I
got to
remember
talking.
meeting.
Yeah, and then I was like, man, we hit it off. We have pretty similar tastes in Rangers. And then I met Coach and Little Ed, at the Rangers game. We streamed at that bar, and then just kept in touch, and then
Yeah.
been a loyal listener ever since.
Oh, so you weren't
Yeah, so-
a fan until the induction?
No, so Coach, remember when we went to Toronto for Lundqvist, you and Little Ed came maybe a day after me or 10 hours
remember,
later or
yeah.
something. So I was kind of, I went to the Hall of Fame by myself. They invited me in to ask a question. I asked that question to Lundqvist. Then I was hungry, so I went to a bar across the street from the hotel, and PJ and his friend Chris was there, right?
Correct.
Yeah, they were just sitting there, so we just sat down. They had Lundqvist stuff on, and I was just like, "Hey, you guys Rangers fans?" We started chatting, and the rest is history, man. So that's kind of how it happened.
Nice. I thought we knew him before then. I didn't realize that was it.
Yeah, well, it feels like it because I think we saw you guys in Florida for Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Final,
Right.
and again at the home opener. So it just kept in touch, and I was happy to
Great
be able to
stuff.
help out when I can.
It's great stuff.
Yeah, and PJ really knows his stuff. So we brought PJ on to counter guys like Chris, or one of our loyal listeners, who's always PJ and Chris are gonna know. You guys know everything, so that's why we brought you on. But
We need stat
Um,
checkers.
It's really what
In
really
fact-
Cousin Ed wanted to do was even out the playing field for when Coach and I gang up on him. He's got PJ now, so
That,
Well,
that's true.
As you can see
That's
behind
true.
me, I'm pretty much a goalie freak, as my 3 goalie jerseys in the back of me. So that's why I was on Cousin Ed's side with the Igor situation there.
Well, PJ, you were a goalie when you played, right?
I was, yep, from age 6 to 2018, but I wasn't gifted size wise. So I was
Well,
like,
take it easy with your choice of words.
Whoa, when you say you weren't gifted size wise, you mean you still aren't, right? Like
Yeah, correct. I didn't have
Right.
a late growth spurt.
you didn't.
So
Yeah, okay.
yeah. So I'm like 5'8", and I didn't get my brother's height, or like 6'2" and 6'3". So
Oh, well, it's always easy to blame it on the size, but we all have reasons why we're doing this instead of playing still. So
100%.
Really.
So yeah, PJ's the goalie freak. I see Richter, Lundqvist, and Igor up there. Little Ed might have an issue with Igor joining Richter and Lundqvist already on the wall, but I see Jay in the comments is saying don't mention Igor in front of Little Ed. I'm glad others are catching on to this.
Is Richter a Hall of Famer?
He is not.
No.
USA Hockey Hall of Fame, though.
All right. Well, Igor has got a little bit of ways to go, so we'll see.
Yeah, we see. Well, anyway, PJ will be here. He'll be backstage. He might pop in. Wanted to introduce him to everybody and, welcome him to the show officially. We appreciate the help, and obviously he brings a lot of value to the podcast as far as knowledge and, just doing everything, helping out behind the scenes and on the scenes and everything. So thanks, PJ, for joining.
Of course. Yeah, it's an honor and happy to be here. And Chris, fair enough. I like the comment.
Oh God, that's funny. All right, so Little Ed,
Have
let's
we
turn
met
to
this
Little
guy,
Ed.
Chris? Have we met this guy, Chris, at any of our events or anything? Where's he
Yeah,
from?
This guy, Chris.
That's gonna be an interesting meeting.
Chris is like our one of our most loyal listeners.
I know. I want to meet him. I want to know if we met him. That's all.
Chris, we rag on you because your comments are very insightful and often correct us when we make a minor mistake. So we do appreciate you being here and listening. So we're just joking around, but come to one of our events that we got going on. I'm sure Little Ed's cooking up something. Come meet us, hang out. We appreciate the listen always. But you guys went to the Garden on Thursday for the Philly game. Tell me what that was like.
Well, before we move on to that, I'm trying to cook up an outdoor game. Cuz I'm sorry if you're not going to be able to make it, but if you're interested in playing or want to play on our squad, we need some ringers this year so we don't get worked over by Hockey Night in New York again. But we're going to have to see a resume and or a highlight reel. You can't just show up and think you're going to be on the Rangers Ed squad. It's not just an open. It's not just an open tryout here. Well, I guess it is an open tryout, but you're not just going to get an automatic spot. But everyone's welcome to come down and be a part of it in one way or another. So check it out on Instagram. I'll announce it soon, hopefully. We'll talk about it in the next couple of weeks. The Garden. My buddy Ben, who, if you guys are loyal listeners, used to come on for the rivalry tour to help us cover the Flyers, talk about the Flyers a little bit. So since the Flyers were up here playing, figured I'd treat him to the game with our season or half season tickets. And it was a good time. Coach Ed ended up getting 2 more seats for Lindsay and himself up on the bar stools on the bridge. So we all were able to sit together. And it was a blast. It's always a good time going to the Garden. But I'm not going to lie, my friend was a little underwhelmed, if you will. I mean, yes, of course, he was a little upset because of the Flyers gameplay. But he said, all he hears about how it's always electric in the Garden and, it's the best place to play and this, that, and the other. And it was kind of dead the other night. Even after a 6-1 victory, it wasn't very uplifting, Coach, what do you think? You got anything to add to that?
100%. I mean, I think that's been the trend for quite a long time. It's for a few years.
I don't know. Last year they were winning a lot of games. I remember last year you and I we were always excited to go to the Garden. Obviously, we were expecting a win, but it was a lot of fun to go too.
Oh, without a doubt. But I just feel like last year I thought Rempe brought that on a lot. That was a big cause of it towards the end, the excitement. And I've been to games even against the Islanders where I'm like, what's wrong with the crowd in the past few years? But, I guess they have down nights. It was a weeknight game, We got to mention our fans we met there also.
I didn't notice it on TV, if the crowd was silent like that, but I think a lot of that might have to do with the vibes of the season. I think last year, there's just so many things that were going on last year that were so positive that I think the Garden maybe erupted for. Like Coach said, Rempe was one of them towards the middle to the end of the year. You had they led the league in comeback wins. They had 11 goals, 6-on-5 last year. I think they got 1 this year. They have 4 comeback wins. They had a terrible stretch. They're out of the playoffs. There's a lot of things that play into the vibes in the Garden. And look, a lot of it is the reality is that it's expensive to go, and even diehard fans are going to pick and choose when they're willing to spend that money. And Coach is right. It's a Thursday night against, Philly, who's not very good. I know they're right there with us in the standings with the Rangers, not us. I'm trying, little Ed. I'm trying to get that out of my vernacular. All right, it's getting there. But they're right there. So I know it's a big game, but it's not. It's not like they played the Islanders or the Devils or Carolina or something like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's true. It's but they are on a surge, so you thought the crowd would have been a little more into it. That's where it was a little disheartening.
It's always loud when they score. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
given. The goal song is always electric, but like the in between, it's just there wasn't any. I mean, the Potvin sucks chant is dying, which I'm sure a lot of people won't complain about that. It's kind of getting old at this point. I think I'd have to agree. But just like even like let's go Rangers chants, like on the penalty kill or power play,
anything,
and not a single one. I mean, I don't even remember doing an Igor chant. Like it's just not really much. And like I said, I mean, don't get me wrong, we had fun. We always eat like kings when we go to the Garden with the nice sandwiches. Lindsay tried the prime rib for the first time. She absolutely loved it. She has, I think she's brought it up every single day since the game.
Coach with the sandwiches at the game is wild.
Dude, they're so good. They're so good. We also had the corned beef and pastrami combo sandwich from Carnegie. It was outstanding. And it's just like I said, my friend had a ton of fun. It's always good to see him, but it sucks to bring him to the Garden and for him to say that. It's kind of a shame.
It's just the way it is these days. I mean, it's so expensive. The real fans that are going to be loud are unable to go to the games, dude. I mean, a lot of those people are deciding, and where to spend their money, and they're not going to spend. How much is it for a ticket? It's got to be over $100 per ticket, right? Plus transportation.
Say absolute cheapest is $100. And you got to buy the ticket like right before the game and stuff.
Right. So say $130 a ticket, 2 people go, that's $260 plus train in, plus food, plus a couple drinks, plus this, plus that, and next thing you know, it's $500 night.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
I know when I go, the souvenirs alone are breaking the bank for me. Forget the tickets.
So should we tell the train story, Coach, or no?
What was the train story again?
With the conductor?
Oh boy.
Is this a family-friendly story? Before you
Coach Ed tried to get away with a senior pass for the Long Island Railroad. It's like $3 or $4 cheaper. And the guy called his bluff and asked him for ID, and Coach didn't have his wallet, so we had to pay the extra $4. That's basically a long story short.
He didn't let it go.
Oh, he didn't let it go. He's like, "Oh, I'll be right back." And Lindsay had to on her phone, "Oh, sorry, I'll have to pay another one." And then he comes back, and she's like, "I'm not buying another ticket. It's not because whatever. The conductor said it was going to be double. It wasn't. So she was like, I'm not going to buy another ticket. It's not double." So when he comes back, he's got the little credit card reader on his belt. So he charged Lindsay $4 because Coach didn't meet the threshold for senior pass on Long Island Railroad. So that was funny. That was after the game. And then to take it a step further, my friend Ben, who was visiting from Philly, gets 2 parking tickets at the train station for backing into a spot and being outside the line. But the lines are so faded at the train station, and obviously it's dark out, that I have to take a picture of it because it's BS. There's no way he's paying that one. But the back into a spot is pretty ridiculous as well. I gotta say. So we had an eventful night at the Garden, as always. Fans, if you're listening, if you're watching, and you're going to a game soon, be a little loud. I don't know. Maybe we can have even a small impact on the next one, the next home game.
Well, they're always loud when Rempe's on the ice. Coach is right about that because Sam points it out every time. Oh, they love Rempe. He says it every single time. So
we'll get to
Rempe in a little bit. All right, let's jump into the jersey profiles. Number 34 for episode 134 has got to be John Van Beesbrook. The Beezer played 11 seasons with the Rangers. I was surprised by that. 85-86 Vezina Trophy, 200 wins as a Ranger, pretty low save percentage. Maybe that was because it was the 80s coach, 890, 345 goals against average. He was drafted in 1981, which is kind of crazy because I feel like in the mid 90s he was an elite goalie. Interesting little tidbit here is traded by the Rangers to Vancouver for future considerations right before the expansion draft with the Panthers. So the Rangers didn't lose Van Beesbrook in the expansion draft. Vancouver technically did. And he was traded for future considerations. Those future considerations turned out to be Doug Lidster, coach, a member of the 93-94 Stanley Cup champion Rangers. So very interesting. Future considerations. You don't see that anymore. That's a very 90s hockey trade thing. I don't think we see that
all
much
the
anymore.
time.
Definitely. Where do you see it now?
Like every trade deadline or every offseason trade deadline, like Chicago's always getting rid of somebody for future considerations. It's like a running joke on Instagram. Like it's like an actual player, like has like a 90 overall in NHL and stuff, like future considerations.
Oh, really? I haven't really pay attention, I guess, that much. I mean, I saw it like a couple of
it's not for anything. It's never for anything substantial. So it's probably you just don't, whatever.
I'm just curious
couple
to
of
know.
cap dumps for future considerations, maybe, but I don't know.
I'm just curious to know what the general save percentages were of the better goalies in the late 80s and early 90s. Because I feel like if you take a look at these pictures, look at his shoulder, look at his chest protector, look at his pads.
He looks like a regular player.
Yeah, he was just in the transition.
Literally.
He was just in the transition of the new pads on the right. Not even the pads of today, but the newer pads that Rick.
Not like Shesterkin's pick when he was a kid he was puffed out in like adult sized equipment.
Let's get PJ on that one. Let me get the save percentage of Grant Fuhr,
Mike
Billy
Vernon.
Smith. Yeah,
Billy
those
Smith.
kind of guys. I'm just curious to know. Because the one thing I stands out about me is what from the 80s when Phil Esposito was the commentator. They'd like announce the game and they'd be like, Phil would be like, an in goal tonight. Who else? Johnny Van Beesbrook. He just loved the way he was playing at the time. And he was like, at the time, the Rangers weren't great. So he was like the savior.
You saw it there. I mean, he won the Vezina in 85-86, and he had a 3.3 goals against average. I mean, I just saw it on the back of that card.
That year? At 3.3?
Well, I also have it up I have it up on the graphic I made too for the Rangers at least.
Right, so 85-86. I think Edmonton won the cup that year. They were probably putting up about 900 goals a year.
Yeah, he won the Vezina Trophy with a 3.33 goals against and an 887 save percentage.
You can't even sniff the Vezina now with that.
31 wins. I mean, that's not that good of a year.
Shout out to Mike, fan of New York Rangers on Instagram, for his card collection every week, of course. And I apologize because I didn't update you, but our buddy Mark, or our fan Mark, is actually the new sponsor of the Jersey Profile. So everyone go follow at the Blue Line Blue Shirts on Instagram. He's a local police officer in Long Beach and a good friend of the show. Loves Coach Ed dearly. And we love you too, buddy. And thank you for sponsoring the rest of the season. And
because he doesn't know him that well.
And I need you on the train. I need you on the train, buddy, to take care of these conductors.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, check out Mark on Instagram at the Blue Line Blue Shirts. He's got a very cool Ranger room with all the lights and everything. It's really sick, and has a really good jersey collection and just memorabilia collection in general. So definitely go check out his page. So thanks, Mark, for the donation.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. And somewhere in this mess in my room, I have a Van Beesbrook autograph photo. I met him at some point when I was a kid. So PJ notes here, Fuhr's career save percentage, 887, 898 in the playoffs. That's not very good to today's standards. It's a different era.
Well, not to take anything away from Gretzky, but like you see highlights of him and all the other guys, like the goalies, like they just weren't equipped. They didn't have the right style. They evolved tremendously, obviously.
You know what the counter is to that, though, Ed?
Of course.
Every player grows up in their era, right? So Gretzky, if he grew up now, would be physically fit. he would have all the training available to him that all these players have, and he would be at a different level as well. So it's just
Yeah,
He
it's
had
the
a
mind, it's the
backyard
hockey
rink. He
IQ.
skated 360 days a year. What do you mean he didn't have the
Yeah.
training?
well now it's different. These guys aren't like a regimen. You see
No,
like
I
when
know.
Lafreniere was drafted, he had like a personal trainer from the age of like 14 preparing him to be in the NHL draft. Like it's
Yeah.
just completely different. Anyway, all right, let's move on. Prior to the last episode, the Rangers were 22-20-4. They got over 500. Since then, 2-1-0, 24, 21-4, 52 points, fifth in the Metro, 20th in the NHL. A couple transactions during this last week, too. The Rangers extended defenseman Will Borgen 5 years, $4.1 million AAV. For this year and next, a full no-move clause that turns into a 15-team no-trade clause in the third year. The second year, I guess, 10-team no-trade clause in the third year, 6-team no-trade clause in the fourth year, and then no trade protection at all in the fifth year. And they also traded prospect Ryder Korzak, however you say it, to Tampa for forward Lucas Edmonds, a former 2022 third-round pick, 86 overall. That's a Hartford transaction. They started the week 5-0 over Ottawa, 6-1 over Philly, and then 5-4 loss to Colorado. We're going to get into that and talk about that, boys. But let's start with Will Borgen. Talk about his extension. Coach, 5 years for Will Borgen. We just propped him up last week on how he's impacted the team in the wake of all the, everyone obsessing over every Capo Caco assist. Every time he,
I also
skates
posted a nice solo clip of just you for you. Thought it was a nice one.
Thank you. Yeah, Kako, like everything he does, we talked about it last week. It's just, the Rangers sold away the farm. And yeah, it's frustrating. You want to get more than Will Borgen when you trade the former second overall pick. I'm not saying it was good value, but Borgen has been pretty good. He deserves credit. It's not his fault that he was acquired for Capo Caco. And he's really solidified Keandre Miller, except for last game, for the most part over the last few weeks. And he earned himself an extension, Coach, a little higher than I would have wanted at 4.1 mil, but maybe $500K more than I would have liked. Not anything crazy, right? Not anything crazy. And we talked with Johnny Laz last week about this. What is Borgen looking for on an extension? And he said 3.5 to 4 million. So it's right in the ballpark of what Johnny Laz was saying. What do you think of the 5-year extension for Borgen, and how does that impact the defense roster going into next season?
We talked about it last week, I believe, and I was a fan of his from when they got him, watching him pretty closely because of the Kako trade situation. I never saw him play before. He was on the Rangers like intently, and I think it's a great deal. Maybe now it's a little too much money, but in the third, fourth, fifth year, it's probably going to be more reasonable for his level, right? And to have a
Probably
steady
2
guy
or
like
3
that
years,
for 5 years, I think is a good deal. The guy puts his heart and soul. He puts enough, like Eddie was saying last week, like maybe Lindgren goes out of his way and he gets hurt too much, but Borgen puts enough. He makes more quality decisions to block shots and whatnot, and he doesn't put himself in a position. Yeah, he's made a few glaring mistakes, but when you're on the ice at this level, you're going to make those mistakes.
We got a question from Instagram from Johnny Parmesan, our buddy. Does this mean Lindgren is gone?
I said that last week. I think if they sign him, it's going to be more reasonable to not have to sign Lindgren or give the Rangers more leverage inside him.
It's an interesting question because I'm looking at the Rangers going into next season. They now have 3 defensemen under contract next year: Borgen, Fox, and Braden Schneider. And all 3 of those guys are right-handed shots. Right now, they comprise the entirety of the right side of the defense, right? So they go into next year with nobody on the left side. We talked about this last week. Also, does this mean Braden Schneider, to get an opportunity with this club above a third pairing role, is going to have to shift to the left side? I think it's a fair question. And I think if so, then, well, first of all, I think Lindgren's gone. I agree with Johnny Parmesan, or I answer his question. Yes, I think Lindgren's done as a Ranger pretty soon here. If not, If they self-rent him, he'll be gone in the offseason. They might even trade him before the deadline. But I think the question is going to be, how do they construct the roster next year? You can either just go Fox, Borgen, Schneider down the right side. You can move Schneider to the left and fill in the back end, because then you got Schneider, Fox, Miller, Borgen. And then you just got to get 2 third pairing guys, which should be cheap, right? So
what is Mancini? Which way does Mancini shoot? I forget.
he's a righty. He's a righty.
So the Schneider's going to have to go to left, or Mancini. I think Schneider's
Schneider's
the
been
more
playing
coachable
fine on
guy.
the left.
I do too, and he's fine with it. He's not going to bitch and moan about it, and he's going to learn it, and he's going to figure it out.
Yeah, and also, Schneider's not an untouchable player. Like, I love Schneider.
No.
I wouldn't trade him. But if an equivalently talented and young lefty is available, maybe you make a move there, right? And I don't know. I wouldn't do it. I particularly think Schneider is really going to blow up. I mean, he's only 23 years old. Like, the kid
That's
is still
crazy.
only 23 years old.
So you look at it. Go ahead.
I mean, I don't mind giving. I wouldn't mind the way Keandre's playing since he's playing with Borgen. If he can prove this consistently the rest of the season, I don't mind giving him a similar contract. Personally, I'm not giving him $6-7 million over 3 years or something, because he hasn't proven it. But if you want to give him that 3.5 to 5 for 3 years, he's playing well now.
What about 5.5 over 5? Something like that.
To me, that's a little high. Is it unreasonable? No. You're
Betting on
you're betting on him. Yeah, you're betting on him that he's going to do it.
Because then it might look amazing when the cap goes up to close to 100 mil, or it looks terrible because any contract would look terrible with him if he.
The question I have with that kind
again.
of the question I have with him is, like, Borgen got that contract signed and he came out and he probably played harder. If Keandre gets that nice contract, is he going to really keep trying to improve? I don't know. I don't know the behind the scenes, like we said before, but that's the question mentally, if he's that kind of player. So there's a lot of variables involved. So the 5.5 to me might be a little high. I don't, the 5 years is a little high. Maybe 3 years, and then you're gambling. If he does do well, then you're going to have to give him like 9 after that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to sign Keandre to any kind of extension, I think you want to go long.
Chris, you got to tell the truth. I got to bite my tongue sometimes. I said if is as high as the Empire State Building.
I think you want to go either 1 year, because I think a 1 year deal keeps him restricted after that, right? So he wouldn't be unrestricted. Or you want to go longer term. I think a 2 year deal would take him right to unrestricted free agency. So if it were me negotiating, I would want to go 5 or 6 years, keep the AAV down, or just give him a 1 year deal and reassess while he's still restricted, because I'm not going to give him a short-term 2 or 3 year deal and walk him to unrestricted free agency. What if he blows up? Then you're going to have to pay him 7, 8, 9 million in a higher cap. I don't know. It's an interesting question, but I wouldn't be in a rush to re-sign Keandre because he's an RFA. So let's just play it by year and see how he finishes the season and reassess him. He's somebody that constantly needs to be assessed because he's so inconsistent. He's just such an inconsistent player.
We're talking about needing left side defenseman. That's why I was bringing it up.
Yeah, so just consider him part of it, Consider him, Little Ed. I know you don't want to, but consider him part of the lefty. You either are going to have Miller on the left and then nobody, and Schneider, Fox, and Borgen on the right in whatever order you want. Or you're going to move Schneider to left and you have your top 2 pairs, Schneider, Miller, and then Fox, Borgen. That's where we are, at least,
I mean, like I said, watching him play now, the way he played against Colorado, I thought he played McKinnon well multiple times. The way he's playing now, and you watch him with his level of compete level and his urgency, right now he's playing at a very good level defensively. So, you can't say much is going on in that. I'm positive about that. But he's got to do it over the stretch of the next 30 games or whatever's left. He could be a factor in helping them get over the hump if he stays consistent like that.
Two things. One, Little Ed hasn't said much during this segment, but I'm going to interrupt. Why are you holding a baseball and spinning it in your hand? Number one. What baseball is that?
it's just a baseball I've had my entire like working career. It's followed me from office to office, and I guess
Is
if
that
you
like
want to
your
use
Jerry Maguire like baseball bat thing where he like not Jerry Maguire, A Few Good Men, remember coach? Jerry
Yeah, he's
Maguire.
got the bat. Where'd you put my bat? Don't put my bat in the closet.
Yeah, I need my bat. Yeah, that's little Ed with the baseball. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond. It was mostly me and coach. But also, I know it's out of order, but I think this transitions into our coach's corner pretty good here. So I'm going to let you respond, and then we go right into coach's corner.
what am I responding to? Just like my opinion on the extension and everything?
And how the D looks going into next year.
Yeah, I mean, you guys pretty much nailed everything. That's why I was staying quiet. I didn't want you guys you were rolling. I love the way he's playing. I mean, spoiler alert. I mean, Trouba obviously can't be my favorite defenseman anymore. We decided to do that in the beginning of the season. So I think Borgen's kind of on his way to being that for me. I love the way he plays. I love his attitude in the locker room or like the little interviews that he has had. When they asked him about signing the contract, he was like, it's a no-brainer. They want me to be here. I want to be here, whatever he was saying. So, like, it's just all positive things. And, like, I love how the defense has looked over the last couple of years, but it's always nice to have, like, a fresh look. And I've said that in the last couple episodes, whereas I think it kind of kicks the current guys in the ass a little bit because, like, guys like Schneider, like all the guys that you just talked about, especially Miller, they should be thinking, I could be traded if they don't have a no move clause or whatever, or they're not, or if their name's not Adam Fox, you could be traded at any point. Because listen, they just traded the captain, and now they signed a quote unquote no name guy to a pretty decent contract extension. So I think that's the most positive thing of it is like it should really kick these other guys in the ass a little bit to play well, and I think it has, especially guys like Miller and. Maybe it does click for him where, chemistry is a big thing with defensemen. If you just feel comfortable playing with someone, someone you could trust, someone where they're going to be and things of that nature, like it does wonders. And I've said it for years about Lindgren and Fox, and you never know. It could be Miller and Borgen for the next couple of years, so we'll see. But we'll talk about Miller a little too. But like the thing about Miller is with me is like everyone keeps saying like, oh, his offense should be is like his talent. Like we shouldn't be picky on his defense. But like his offense sucks. If anything, lately he's been playing better defensively, and he can't do anything on offense. When he has the puck, it looks like he's never made a pass in the offensive zone in his life. It's like he gets so flustered with it. He gets so nervous. It must be a confidence thing.
Comes back to awareness is his big problem. He's got all the offensive talent in the world. I mean, he could skate with the puck. He carries the puck well. He's not a bad passer. He's pretty good wrist shot. It's not that. It's that he doesn't know what to do when he has it.
That's what I mean. Like he'll stick handle, he'll fly through the neutral zone, and then like it's not even like he'll chip it into the corner. Like he'll just chip it to the defenseman. It's like I don't know, just take it. Like I'm going to go back and play defense now. Like it's just like all right, I did what I wanted to do. It's
he'll lead a 3-on-2 and shoot it into a shin pad.
That's the puzzling part to me with all the available coaching, personal coaching, the Rangers coaching. Is he evaluating himself like on a game by game basis? When we coach, I go over the defenseman. I think we were up to 7 or 8 options you can do when you have the puck down by the goal line, say. And we would drill that through. What are your options? So it's in their head. So under pressure, hopefully they make one of those options the right one. But they know the options. So in practice, you use them. And I feel like he gets to those spots like you guys are talking about. He doesn't even know his options. I never seen him once make that pass to the center, looping down low on a breakout. Never. He pretty much all he does is that flick pass that you and Ben were talking about. That's his big flick, which is one of the options. Which is one of the options. Don't get me wrong that we talk about, but not every time.
I mean, so we get a comment from Iceman here. I think someone would put an offer sheet on Miller if we don't sign him. Look, offer sheets. Overplayed. Yes, I know it happened this year with Edmonton and St. Louis with the two guys, Broberg and Holloway, but Look, if someone wants to offer sheet Keandre Miller, in order for it to actually hurt the Rangers, it would have to be at least 4.5 million, right, or more. I think it's 4.58 from what I'm looking at here. I don't know if this is accurate 100%. Someone will correct me. That would be a first and a third they'd have to give us, right? They'd have to give the Rangers a first and a third for Miller if they sign in between 4.5 and 6.8. Anything over 6.8 to 9 is a first, a second, and a third.
So that's not
Plus
a bad gig.
Plus, the Rangers have like 20-something million in cap space, even with this signing, depending on where the cap goes up, and they can easily match any of those deals. Any team that tries to offer sheet Keandre is going to have to make it hurt the Rangers. And in return, the Rangers are going to say, shit, you're willing to give us 2 first-round picks and a second or whatever? Take them. You know, at that point, they're going to just let him go and say whatever. Anything lower than that, they're going to easily match. So I'm not concerned about an offer sheet of Keandre, especially moving Trouba now. They have the cap available to match anything that is reasonable on Keandre. But it's a good point. It's a good point.
One more thought. That's interesting. I didn't really think about it like that, so I'm glad you explained that better. One more thing about the Borgen situation. I'm going to have to say that give credit to – it's got to be credit to Phil Housley and Laviolette hopefully talking with Drury and say, what do you think about this guy? Because he has to be showing something to the coaching staff with his attitude and his playing ability. I mean, Drury's watching games, but how was he, you know, he can't watch every practice, everything. So he had to get feedback saying, this guy's the one we need. This guy's the one we want.
I think it's pro scouting, not the coaching.
Scouting as well, yeah, scouting.
I mean, the pro scouting has identified, think about the guys they've identified over the last few years. Sam Carrick, right, is a guy that they said they got him for 3 years for $1 million a year. That's a bargain. I mean, he's worth more than that, right? So,
well, like I said,
2 years on that.
3 years.
I don't know if I texted it or not, but
this is the first of the 3.
Yeah,
he turned into Barclay Goodrow. That's his spot.
Yeah,
he's got that same attitude, that work ethic. I'm sure he's like that in the locker room. So he's kind of going to be that replacement. So hopefully they did a good job with that. You know, so far it seems like it. The guy's clutch, and he's bolstering that fourth line.
Yeah, no, I give credit to the pro scouting for identifying Borgen as a quote unquote buy low. I know some people wouldn't say that, but you know, a guy falling out of favor with another organization that the Rangers should target and could help, you know, solidify the defense. And Vakanainen is another example of that, right? A guy who was a 7th in Anaheim, one of the worst teams in the league. He's been good. You know, he's been a plus player for the Rangers. He's got 5 assists as a Ranger. He's very unnoticeable out there, which is all you can ask for in a 6D, right? I don't want to notice you really that much. Don't make mistakes and move the puck up the ice and get off the ice, right?
Hey, it's a Zach Jones situation where he could go somewhere else. He's the Rangers' 7th or 8th defenseman.
Yeah.
He could be a steal to somebody else, you know. So it's the same kind of situation.
For sure.
Only with Vakanainen, we get the size. We don't really need the offense, so it's a plus.
I give credit to the pro scouting, but let's
all around.
Let's go to Coach's Corner because this is a Borgen Miller thing. And
hey everybody, Coach Ed here. I'm over here in the shop at Bella Italia, Marble Granite and Quartz, picking up my order for a nice little bathroom I'm doing. I've been a contractor almost as long as I'm a hockey coach. So listen to me when I tell you, when you want the quality work and craftsmanship, come and see the boys over at Bella. They serve all 5 boroughs, Westchester, Long Island, all the way out to Montauk. Whether you're a Ranger fan, Islander fan, Devils fan, they're going to take care of you no matter what. Make sure you give them a call, 516-561-1018. Let's go, Rangers.
All right, boys, bring it in.
Oh God! Every time it gets me. Every time, Coach. I want you to break down this goal against Colorado here. Borgen and Miller are involved, so it transitions nicely. Break down the play and where does the blame lie on this, knowing the situation and what exactly happened?
Well, you guys you're gonna be very surprised And sure, PJ is going to be surprised too. First of all, again, from the time Eddie was freaking 8 years old,
Which Eddie? This
I always
Eddie?
tried to teach. Yes, I always tried to teach him and his teammates clock management. So when you're sitting on the bench, it's not always about just sitting there. It's about looking at the clock, looking at the game situation, looking at the score. What are you going to do like in Little League? What am I going to do if the ball comes to me? So what am I going to do if I have the puck in the corner? What's the score of the game? How much time's left? Is there a guy in the penalty box? Are we on the power? There's all these variables that should be going through your mind. Even if you're a fourth line, even if you're Matt Rempe, if the coach taps you on the shoulder, you should mentally be prepared. What am I going to do? What's the safe play for me? What's the safe play for the team to not cause a mistake and blow the game? It's 4-4. So this situation is it's 4-4. Rangers get a power play with let's say 2:20 left about, right?
250.
It was 250. Okay, so with 250 left, they got a chance to win the game. Now Keandre's going out there, second power play unit in that situation, which I think they're insane for having him out there. But I'm not going to blame this on him. And you also have to know who's in the box. Say it's too many men on the ice penalty. Generally, the other team's going to put, or you're going to put, one of your breakaway guys, the guy who doesn't kill penalties, and is going to give us the chance to get him out of the box and get a goal. Right?
Like a Heedle.
Right. So usually that's the type of player that's in the box. So you also have to know who's in the box. Is Matt Rempe in the box? He's not really going to be a threat. So we know that Cale Makar's in the box. He's already got 3 points in the game, right? He's kind of dominating the game, and he had a goal taken away. No, he didn't have that goal taken away, did he? Yeah, he did. Yeah. So he's already on fire this game. Cale Makar's in the box. Let's not let this get away. That's another variable. All right. So you want me to draw this out?
Yeah.
Personally,
Everyone head
I
on
think
over to YouTube to Coach's Corner to see the whiteboard.
Personally, I think Keandre came across. I got to do this backwards, so it's a little difficult. Came across this way, gained the zone, deked one guy. The guy led off him, and he hung out in the corner. So Borgen posted up over here where he should be. And who was over here?
Panarin.
I want everybody who's paying attention and is a fan of this podcast and the Rangers, watch the play again 2 or 3 times. Okay? Because, yes, and Kreider was over here going in slow. If the play was done right and everybody knew the game situation and Miller had the puck here, Kreider would have busted his ass here and called for the puck. He's the leader on the team. I don't know if he was trying to sneak in because he slowed down, but he should have been immediately back here because that's his out. That's puck possession down low, late in the power play. We got to get it by the net. The play isn't to the point. All right? Now, Borgen should have known the situation also. If you're going on the ice, you know there's about 40 seconds left in the power play. You have to know in your mind it's got to be ticking off. You have to know how long we've been out there generally. It's getting near the end. Again, game situation.
There's also there's also clocks everywhere.
Correct. All right.
So Coach, the other guys on the ice, though, that's another variable I want you to add in. Panarin, Kreider, those guys were on PP1. So they've been on the ice for how long?
Almost 2 minutes.
And Miller and Borgen, those guys know that. You know, they're aware. They jump on the ice. Panarin's there. They know how long Panarin's been on the ice, right?
I mean, I want to say also I got to blame it a little bit on the coaching. And they should be reminding the next unit going out, say, guys, it's getting near the end. Makar's in the box.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. They might have said it. I don't know. So
you got to think they did.
Yeah, I think they did. I don't know for a fact. So anyway, so that was a good point by Chris because Panarin always wants the puck. And the play is when Panarin says to get it out to the point, go D to D, right? But again, Kreider doesn't support the puck. So we have 4 guys here with Miller trapped in the corner. I thought he did a good job of gaining the zone. He makes the safe play across to Borgen. Now Panarin's probably at this point yelling something. Give me the puck, give me the puck. Not seeing the guy come out of the box behind him. When the puck is tipped, so you have mistake 1, let's say mistake 2. The puck is tipped, they go. The guy who scored the goal was here. The guy who scored the goal, he breaks out. Panarin makes a half-assed attempt to block him from going, doesn't stay with him, and he busts down, and Panarin coasts all the way back. And that guy's the guy who finished. If anything else, he's got to just stay in his way. And
Panarin had been on the ice, coach, for like 2.5 minutes or something.
Stay in his way and slow him down. Stay in his way and do something. Watch the play again. Yes, it was a mistake here, but that doesn't mean you look. He was on the ice for the power play, but he's not skating hard for 2 minutes. He has nothing left to make. Watch the attempt he makes to slow the guy down.
I saw that, and a lot of people blame Panarin. I hear you. I just think Panarin was gassed, honestly. He was out there for a long period of time.
Then he shouldn't be out there for that long.
He should have changed. He should have changed. Yeah, he should have changed.
If you don't have the legs, as the last man, it's not like Kreider didn't have the legs because you're down low. If you're the point guy and you don't have the legs, then you got to get off.
Yeah. I just don't understand why Miller goes back to Borgen there. Like, Miller enters the zone.
I just told you why.
Because you're saying he had no,
he had no save. He had no option behind the net.
So why did he need to get rid of the puck?
He could have skated it behind the net. That's
fine.
But we already talked about that. He doesn't have that wherewithal. So
no,
my question is, don't put him out at the end of a power play with Makar in the box.
No way. He shouldn't have been out there. But look,
he's out there.
He goes into the corner. He turns around. Makar comes out of the box and starts coming into the defensive zone. Miller is facing Borgen. He is the only one who can actually see Makar, if he noticed him, coming into the zone, right? And he decides to pass it back to Borgen while Makar is like, to me, I just feel like don't even risk it at that point. Just keep it deep. There's like 25 seconds left in the game or whatever it is. You're about to go to overtime. Making that pass sets up all the other mistakes to me. That's why I was mad at Miller. I'd rather him just trap it in the corner, just stand there with the puck and wait, or go behind the net or something, or keep it deep. And
the other issue is it's a power play still. Get it out to the point, and Borgen makes the mistake going D to D. He could have shot
back in the corner.
He could have dumped it back in the corner.
Yeah. Borgen made the mistake too.
So I'm not blaming it on Miller 100%. He made a good pass to Borgen. It wasn't deflected. People should have been yelling, get it back deep, shoot it to the net, because they knew the power play was over. So there was multiple things, but I'm not blaming that one all on Keandre. I'm blaming it on two veterans who needed to be in a different situation to give Miller the option, who doesn't have a lot of experience on the power play.
Right.
To make those
up. It's a good point.
He's got to have that behind the net option, and Kreider was slow getting there.
Chris points out Panarin pointed to Borgen with a stick, kind of directing Miller to make that pass. So I didn't notice that, but I'll rewatch that and see. That's an interesting point. Yeah. I mean, look, Panarin, bad play by Panarin, no question. Panarin's got to get off the ice there. He cannot be hanging on the ice trying to get a game-winning goal when he's gassed, especially with Cale Makar coming out of the box. He's got to have more.
I mean, everybody needs to know that situation. I mean, it may have been a spot where they should have called a timeout. I don't know. That's hindsight. You always want to try to save that timeout. You always want to think your veterans know better from video sessions and stuff. But
terrible loss, coach.
A bunch of things.
How bad is that loss?
Get that point.
Yeah. 2 points, maybe.
Well, I mean, at least one. At least one, yeah.
In that situation, I think you got to go for the 1 point, especially where they're at in the standings, battling for every point they can. If you're in a position to tie or go into overtime against Colorado, I got to be with Cousin Ed. Just eat that puck in the corner, make the safe play. Realistically, the safe play is to Borgen, so like you got to just you can blame everyone on that play. I mean, they should have just ate the clock, in my opinion. If they don't have a shot on net or something, you just eat the clock there.
Yeah, Borgen should have dumped it hard.
If I'm Borgen, I'm thinking like you're thinking, like there's got to only be 10 seconds left in the period. Like, I'm just giving it right back to Miller. Like,
Right.
at the very least, it's out of my hands. It's in the corner. It's safe. You know, like it's kind of like the panic play, but at that point, that is the right play, is the panic play.
Or hard around and then Cried is on the other side where he was. And
Whatever.
he
At
gets
least
it.
that eats another 5 seconds of clock. You know, it's like
Now, Chris just said that they did call a timeout. I didn't see that. We were kind of in conversation watching the game.
yeah.
So if they did use the timeout, then I want to say, like I said, we don't know what the coaches are saying, but that would be something I would be saying. Me personally, I would 100% be saying stuff like that. Ed, I think Eddie could back me up on that.
Definitely.
Listen, I just remember, you know, like I remember a particular play from when I played travel with the Arrows. There was like 15 seconds left in a game. We were up by a goal. Defensive zone face-off. I was playing lefty. The puck was won into the corner, and I went to the puck and I trapped it in my skates in the corner and ran out the clock. And like that is the kind of awareness that I want Keandre to have in that spot, right? Like there's 20, 30 seconds left in the game. I don't remember the exact number. Chris would know. But the game is you're making a pass back to the point. It might be the right play, but it's not when Cale Makar is coming out of the box any second now. Even if he didn't know that, he has to know when he got on the ice, there was X amount of time in the power play, and Cale Makar, probably or arguably the best player in the league overall. You can say McDavid, fine, but Cale Makar is one of the most dynamic players in the league. He's got 18 goals as a defenseman already. He's going to have 30 goals, you know, as a defenseman. You don't want this guy flying out of the penalty box looking for a hat trick. Why do that? Like, what?
No,
that's my problem with Miller in that spot. Like, that's probably the right play, but in that spot, I'd rather you be uber conservative. Uber conservative. It's not the right play in that spot, in my opinion. I do agree with you. It's not all on him. Maybe there's other factors. Panarin called for it. He was gassed. He was lazy on the back check. Borgen made a mistake. All those things come into play for sure. But it all started with Miller even putting Borgen in that spot. Borgen had his back to the penalty box. He also should know not to make a cross-ice pass there, even if he didn't see Makar. I get it. But whatever. We're all beating a dead horse here. A bunch of mistakes were made.
I get what you're saying also, but I'm not blaming it all on Keandre. The pass that he made wasn't intercepted.
Right. It
And
could have went
Borgen
right
was
back
really-
in. And Borgen should have just put it right back in and said, no,
Should have sent it hard around.
Yeah,
Sent it hard around past Keandre. That's the play where you loop it around the wall all the way. But
And Panarin should have got off the ice. Panarin should have got off the ice if he was that tired that he couldn't back check.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe Chris could help us. How many seconds were into the power play when they called the timeout? Was it before the power play or in the middle of it? I don't remember.
I don't remember the timeout either, in fairness, Coach.
So
I can chime in on that, boys. It was about halfway through, like about a minute in, there was a whistle, and they blew it to kind of give the top guys a breather and try to draw up a play for the win. And then, the puck went out of the zone about 30 seconds later, and that's when they changed a couple guys.
Yeah. So how gassed is he with the timeout there? I mean, that's a better question. Right?
And to boot, Panarin's line was on the ice when the penalty was drawn.
So he was really.
So he was probably close to 3 minutes, if not more.
Yeah.
But see, that's what I'm saying too is like, I guess, power play with under a minute left or whatever, you want to try to go for the win, but at the same time, I'm telling the defenseman at least to make the safe play. If nothing is there, you safe plays only. Like that's what we always say, Coach Ed and I. Like if it's not there, no shin guards with under a minute left, no blind passes, like the basics. Like,
and I've also said,
even a pass across the blue line is one of them. Like no passes across the blue line unless it's there, unless it's perfect, unless there's 100%.
And I've even said to a player, we have players. I'm not saying they're Panarin level, but they're offensive minded, and they always call for the puck.
Right.
So I'll say to one guy, I don't give a shit if he's screaming for the puck. Don't pass it unless you see him open. You know what I'm saying? So if Borgen didn't have time to look up and see him open, then don't pass it because Panarin's always going to want it. He's always going to want it. That's his DNA. So sometimes you got to ignore it and let it work. So There's a lot of things like I said, I don't know what was said during the timeout. Maybe, we've also said 100 times things during the timeout, and the players just ignore it anyway. So you don't know.
Of course.
I think it's
For
just
me,
a brutal.
like I said, I'm playing for the
brutal
tie
loss.
there.
I
Yeah, I
agree
would
with Little Ed.
definitely-
You play for overtime in that spot,
Without a doubt.
especially when you look at the Saturday games. I know a lot of people are telling me it's too early to scoreboard watch, but it's not. I mean, there's a lot of teams here going for this. Bruins beat the Avalanche Saturday, right? Devils and Canadians went to OT. Canadians lost. Ottawa beat Toronto. Detroit beat Tampa. Columbus beat Los Angeles, right? The Islanders beat the Hurricanes in overtime. You're looking at all this. Bad night in the standings for the Rangers. They don't get a point against the Avalanche with that horrible goal against with 14 seconds left or whatever. Then Ottawa beats Utah, so it's 2 more points for a team vying. And now look at tonight. Detroit's beating the Kings, and the Flyers are beating the Devils. So, you can't just throw points away. You got to get that to overtime and get those points. So it kind of ruins the vibes after those 2 great games. Igor off the 2 shutouts, plays good against Philly. Good little stretch there, and then it just kills the vibes. But
And let's go back to you put up 4 goals against Colorado, 4-4 game. You're in the game.
I said it like I've been a pro Igor during this little bit with Little Ed that we've been going on weeks now. But you got 4 goals and you outshoot Colorado 38-21. You come back from 2 goals down twice in the game. Shesterkin has to win that game. He's got to be the difference in the game, So at maybe not that goal because it's not his fault, dude. It's
I was only trolling you on that.
No, but you wanted to make a save somewhere in that game that is maybe not that goal because that was unfair to expect, But somewhere in the game, one of those 4 goals, maybe he could have made the save. I don't know.
And he even got a piece. He got a piece of that shot on that winning goal.
Tough.
He got a piece of it.
Game. It's a tough game, but all right, let's go to the quarter century teams. Yesterday, this has been going on around the league. Every organization is getting their quarter century teams announced. So the Rangers' first team was announced: Chris Kreider, Artemi Panarin, Mika Zibanejad, Fox and McDonough on D, and Henrik Lundqvist in net. The second team: Jaromir Jagr, Derek Stepan, Matt Zuccarello, Dan Girardi, Mark Stahl, and Igor Shesterkin. So first, let's go to Little Ed. Your thoughts on these quarter century teams, the format of it, voted on by the writers. Just generally, what are your thoughts? Do you think anyone's missing from it?
I think it's a little recency biased because, as good as Zibanejad and Kreider have been, it's hard not to put Jagr in the top on the first team. Obviously Lundqvist is there, but I don't know. I feel like they could have paid a little bit more attention to the earlier players, if you will, in the early 2000s. So yeah, I think it'd be a good idea for us for next episode to kind of pick our own century teams, not really based on statistics or how good the player was. What'd I say?
Century? I'm not doing a century.
Quarter century teams. But because I wouldn't be able to, none of us would be able to do that, I hope.
I'll take Bill Cook and Bun Cook.
But we should do players that we enjoyed watching, not necessarily the best ones or the most stats or whatever, but just players we enjoyed watching. So I think all 4 of us will have a different team, and that'll be fun.
Yeah,
if he was on the first team over Lundqvist, I would have lost it.
Yeah, Coach, my issue is in looking at it, I probably would have put Jagr over Zibanejad, but the problem is that Zibanejad recently has been so frustrating for us, but he is up there in the leaderboards for the franchise. So it's you can't really write that off. Power play goals, assists, points, everything. He's up there. Kreider is a legend of the team. He's been there the whole time, right? So it's hard not to include those guys. And Panarin is probably the best free agent signing in NHL history. Just straight up taking somebody from free agency UFA and signing him to your team is a huge deal. He's been incredible, and I know Chris hates him and a lot of fans are frustrated with his playoff performances and whatnot, but the numbers are what they are. I didn't make those numbers, so Yager had the one huge year, set a franchise record that year, right? It's tough. It's a tough thing.
I mean, what was the playoff?
Yager was
playoff
captain. He was
stats?
just, I don't know, Yager. What?
What were the playoff stats for Yager as far as did they go to the Eastern Conference Finals or anything? I don't remember.
Did Yager
PJ
even
on
make
it.
the playoffs? I don't even think Yager made the playoffs with the Rangers.
So
did
I
he?
got to
Maybe he
put
did.
that as a
did.
knock. I mean,
Two seasons.
Two?
Oh,
All right.
06, 07, they swept the Thrashers round 1.
Oh, right.
And then they lost to Buffalo. Well, no, and then they beat the Devils, and then they lost to the Sabres on that Chris Drury Game 5 7.7 second goal.
Oh.
They could have been up 3-2 going home. That team was really good, the Rangers team. And then this next year after, they in 07,
Was that the
08,
Nylander, Straka, Yager line? That team?
Yep. Yeah, they had Shanahan on there too. Prinka.
Right.
Second year Lundqvist. And then the third season with the Yager. Actually, they made it the first year with the Yager. First full season, 05-06 after the lockout, but they got swept by the Devils. Yager hurt his shoulder in game 1, trying to go after Scott Gomez. And then
Ironically.
third season, they beat the Devils round 1. That was the infamous Fatso forgot to shake my hand by Sean Avery. Round 2, they lost to Pittsburgh 4-1. That was when Pittsburgh made the finals, like prime.
Are you reading this or is this by memory?
No, just by memory.
What?
I have a very unhealthy relationship with the Rangers, and
So three.
Well, welcome to the show, PJ.
you're out of your goddamn mind.
So 3 years. No, 3 years, Coach Yager. So summarize what PJ is saying here. 3 years, 23 games with the Rangers in the playoffs. He did score 27 points in those 23 games. But one Eastern Conference Finals appearance, PJ?
No,
second round.
Yep.
Second.
Yep.
Second round. No more than 10 games in a playoff series season with the Rangers. So
It's a tough one. That's a debatable one. Obviously, I would give Panarin over Yager.
yeah, I mean, dude, Yager only played. People forget this. Yager only played half a season in 03-04 and then 3 seasons with the Rangers, and that's it. That's it. Out of 25, you're talking about a quarter century team. He's got 3.5 seasons. It's hard to put him on the first team when you have guys up in the leaderboards in franchise history. You know, it's tough. That's a tough thing to do. But
Yeah, it's
I
a
don't
debatable situation for sure.
I was interested in Rick Nash not being included. I thought that was interesting. Nash was
That's what I
pretty
said
damn
before. I think, yeah, he's very good and very exciting to watch. You know, I love Nasher.
I thought he was a
I'm
little bit underachieving.
That was my
for what the
buddy
fans
Ben's
expected.
favorite player too.
Yeah, he's an underachiever, but Coach, even when he was not scoring points, he was elite defensively.
Oh, I love him. I'm not saying
He
me.
was-
I'm saying
he
as
was
far as a
great.
vote. But people don't notice that. You know that.
Another guy who didn't perform in the playoffs. That seems to be an MO for this team. Last thing on this little Dan Girardi, Mark Stahl, the second pair on the quarter century team there. How you liking that? I'm sure
On
you
the
love
second
that.
team,
Second team, yeah. First team was Fox and McDonough.
I mean, I can't really
Nice.
argue it. I wouldn't put McDonough and Fox as a pair in real life, but I mean, as far as best defenseman, and you got to go with them too,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
I mean,
Well-
just the fact that Girardi made it, I'm glad because he easily could have been left off of that because of just like I guess his reputation now with fans as opposed to how good he was when he was actually playing. You know.
All right, so next week we'll do one team, not two, right? First, we'll do one team, 3 forwards, 2D, and a goalie. Doesn't have to be center and 2 wings or anything. Your 3, what is it? Favorite player to watch was your standard?
Yeah, just like your favorite Rangers for the quarter century. I mean,
Favorite
then
Rangers
doesn't
or
have to-
favorite? All right,
what?
that's hard. Favorite Rangers generally? I mean,
Why is that hard?
I mean, Fox, like it's going to be
Who
all
would you
these
pick
guys.
Who would you pick for you if you would have feel like a first line?
Coach is going to have Brian Boyle, Dominic Moore, and Blair Betts.
I mean, listen, just let it happen. Let's see what happens. Let it shake out, and it'll be
Not
fun.
predicting who I'm going to have.
All right, so let's move on. Speaking of Coach Ed,
You're
players,
gonna have 5 goal scorers. Coach is gonna have what you just said, a mix of probably some grinders and stuff. I might have a surprise here and there. Just let it happen.
yeah, you'll be surprised who I pick. We'll see. All right,
You got to send me the roster of those players for the last.
I want
1 year.
everyone for the last 25 years.
in what alphabetical order or like leading by hits or something like
You
what's
just
that?
put the
Face off,
players.
face off wins.
Put the playoffs. I'll do the homework.
All right, let's talk about Matt Rempe before we go to the stars of the week and wrap up. So I saw a stat: the Rangers are 38-4. Let me clarify: not 38-4, 30-8-4 with Rempe in the lineup since he's been called up. I mean, he scored a goal the other day. I said it to Johnny Laz last week. I said the kid's got pretty good hands, and he shut me down a little bit. But I didn't mean he was going to be a 20-goal scorer. I just meant
But then he
could play.
tweeted. What did Johnny last tweet?
Well, I missed it. What did he say?
He didn't shout you out, but he said something about like looks like Rempe borrowed McDavid's hands for a game or something like that.
He could have shouted me out. Come on, Johnny.
Yeah, he
You know, I said
this on the podcast.
I sent him a message. And he liked the message. I showed you.
Come on, Johnny. I said he's got good hands and he makes that play. That was a ridiculous play. Anyway, I'm not saying he's gonna be a 20-goal scorer, but he could play a little bit. He was the Rangers' 23rd unique goal scorer this season. People are so tired of talking about Matt Rempe. I mean, Rangers fans are like, they either think he's like not an NHL player and should be like, excommunicated from the league, or they think he's like the most impactful player on the team. There is no in between with some of these people. All I'm trying to say is he has a positive effect on the team. It's evident by the record the team has when he's in the lineup. His energy, coach, out there. Is this a correlation to his energy that they're 38-4, or is it just a coincidence that they happen to be just a good team and they have all these wins? Like, what do you actually attribute some of this to Rempe?
I have to say yes. I'm not saying he's that much of an impactful player. Obviously not in this points, but we always talk about that fear he instills in the other team. And look at the way this fourth line has been playing for the last 5 or 6 games. How many games has he been on the line so far? I think they have points.
Chris said your quarter century team is going to be Zherdev, Kravtsov, and Christensen. I'm dead. Anyway, sorry, go ahead. That's hilarious. Go ahead. Sorry.
You can't deny the fact that fourth line has had points in, I think, every game in this stretch of 5 or 6 games. So maybe PJ could come up with that stat for me. They've been involved in every game. Carrick, Rempe, and Eddie. They've been involved in every game in a positive way, and that energizes the top players. That gives the top players a rest when the coach can use that fourth line regularly, and them being effective, not just as a giving them a rest. So I think that's a key thing. I think that's a key part of the game, and so I do have to say it has a direct correlation. I'm not saying they couldn't have won those games without him in the lineup, but the fact that he's there is some positive stat.
Yeah, I mean, little Ed, like it's the energy, right? It's got to be.
It's definitely the energy, and I think it's partially kind of like the Trouba effect that we always used to talk about, where forwards were a little nervous or a little hesitant to go across the blue line or carry the puck into the zone when number 8 was on the ice. I mean, the Rangers now have that fourth line that, or like we always made fun of the Islanders, the identity line. Now they have that fourth line that other teams' defensemen can be afraid of. Like there's no easy shift. Like obviously Coach Ed and I now at the level we coach at, we can look across at the other team and say, okay, the fourth line's out there. We could put out certain players. We can figure it out. Right now, other teams don't have that privilege because they're going to get banged around. The puck's going to be in the offensive zone for most of the time. Or if things go well, obviously, they're able to cycle. They're able to get scoring chances. It's not just like a punting the ball, just to get the other teams or the other lines a breather. They're effective. PJ, what do you got?
Yep. So to piggyback, Coach had asked, I'll deliver. 5 of the last 8 games, the fourth line's had at least 1 goal. The first 3 of that were huge. The Carrick OT winner in Jersey against Jersey, the Edstrom game winner in Vegas, and then in Colorado it was Carrick and Edstrom with the only goals.
Yeah.
So they've had big goals too. It's not just scoring, and even
And then
Carrick
Rempe's goal
responding.
was big. Rempe's goal was big. You know,
And even yesterday, despite the loss, Carrick stopped the bleeding really early. I mean, a few
Yeah.
weeks ago, Rangers got blown out in that game, down 2-0.
oh yeah, it would have been over early.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something about the energy he brings to the fans. Number one, no, and number two, it's we talked about this with Florida last year. You know, when the Panthers play, it's like they're all on the same page. They all have the same mentality. It's a killer mentality, you know, killer instinct, whatever it is. When you got a guy like Rempe out there and he plays that way, the other guys feel that, and they you got to have someone that leads the charge in that regard. And whether he plays 4 minutes or 10 or 6 or whatever, every time he's out there, he is bringing that. And guys like Trocheck notice that, and they step up. And you know, it's just bleeds through the lineup little by little. Yeah. And I think it's really important. I think it is.
And let's not forget, if Rempe turns the guy behind the net and doesn't hit him, the guy's got to come around and face Edstrom on the wall. Another 6'8" guy. You're like, holy shit, what am I going to do now? You know what I mean? Which way do I go?
And Carrick plays a heavy game too.
Carrick plays a
big.
tough physical game too. Yeah, he looks like he's not big, but he's probably like 6'2".
I think. Hold on. I think I saw he was 6'4". Maybe I'm wrong. But he looks really tiny out there next to that.
You know what I mean? So that's it. I know if I'm a defenseman and that line's out there, you're making a quicker decision. And it was
he's
noticeable.
only 6 foot. Yeah,
it was noticeable against Colorado. Even Keandre, they banged around McKinnon pretty good. I don't think he had as much of the free wheels as you usually see in a game. I'm not saying they held him down, but they banged him around pretty good. They didn't hurt him, but they were physical with him. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
Good test.
Well, I mean, he looks like he's here to stay now after the Hartford stint and the suspension earlier in the year. VC hasn't sniffed the ice in weeks, you know.
Yeah,
so
it's tough.
They can't.
VC's a good insurance policy right now because if anybody does get hurt, he could fill in immediately if they need him.
And Brodzinski.
And Brodzinski. Yeah, they're those kind of players.
For sure. All right. Let's move on to our stars of the week.
What about milestone moment?
Oh yeah, lead the charge on the milestone moment.
It's not on the board.
Want me to lead the charge?
No, I was kidding. All 6 Rangers defensemen recorded a point for the first time since December 8th, 2019 against the Flyers on Thursday. So all 6 of them got a point. Couple goals from some unlikely guys, and obviously the assists. Vakanainen's assist on the last goal was the 6th point. So, yeah, I mean that's a pretty big milestone to have all 6. We've been talking about it a little bit. The Rangers are not getting points from the back end like they have in previous seasons, and here you go. In one game, they all 6 get a point, Coach. So, that's a pretty long period there of 2019 to 2025, 6 years. I feel like that might happen more for other teams. I don't know. Maybe it is rare.
I mean, that's what I was thinking. Like, I don't know.
That's rare.
The way that they're saying it is like, oh, it hasn't happened in so long. It should be more of a positive that, like, hey, it doesn't happen often. Like, you know, but maybe it happens more often than we see it or think, but I don't think so. For all 6 defensemen to have a point, I mean, that's
tough.
PJ, get on it. No,
yeah, I was going to say PJ.
That's a hard one to look up, but either way, it's a great, going into the locker room, and we try and talk about like team morale and things off the ice, but going into the locker room and the defensive core going into the next team meeting, the coaches are probably bringing it up. The guys are kind of like chirping you a little bit, but like in a positive way, you know, like giving you a hard time. But like it's good for team morale, especially a young defenseman. Will Borgen coming in, like Miller obviously on a cold streak, getting a point in a big win. So I'm sure the boys were having fun after that one, which is huge.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good point.
For sure. All right, let's get into our stars of the week. All right, player of the week.
We didn't mention that the milestone moment was brought to you by Old Country Tile.
Get over the Old Country Tile, boys.
Yeah, and yeah, that's my bad. Old Country Tile, milestone moment. Sorry. Let's get to the stars of the week, though. Player of the week, and of course, Coach Ed's Doghouse. We're doing that again. So, player of the week. Let's start with PJ since he is new to the show here. We're gonna just jump right in. PJ, who do you got?
Oh, pressure's on. I was looking at it. It is amazing how many goals they've scored in the last 3 in this week. And honestly, the guy that I feel like has been in a part of a lot of the biggest goals to me has been Trocheck. I think he's really starting to get going again, which is huge considering what Mika's doing. But Trocheck's kind of getting back to where he was last year. He's kind of, getting in the middle of everything, affecting everything, and just seems like he's scoring big goals at big times or contributing. Like, he scored the second goal to tie it yesterday, got the primary assist on Panarin, tying goal late. So I like the way he's trending right now.
Yeah, I mean, Trocheck 3 points, but also, like you said, 11 shots on goal, 3 blocks, 5 hits in these games. So he's always across the stat line impacting. I went with Shesterkin. I just think he had the 2 great games in the beginning. The Philly game in the second period, he was unbelievable. Didn't play well against Colorado, but I'll write that one off. In my opinion, they were great goals. I mean, look, Cale Makar beat him, whatever. It is what it is. But
well, first of all,
you want him to make a save there.
If you're gonna troll me and say, and with every Igor situation, you're gonna write off a bad game against Colorado, like that's a cup contending team. That's the games that we're looking for him to have an outstanding game.
No, I'm gonna write it off as in I don't blame him for the loss. I just wish that
But you did blame him before.
I don't blame him for the loss. I don't blame him for the loss.
You said he needed to make one of those saves.
What I'm saying is that you want your goalie, your elite goalie, to win that game. You want him to make that save, make a save in that game.
Okay, so how could you give him player of the week then?
Because he had a shutout against Ottawa, and he was dominant against Philly, and those were 4 huge points. And this game, I don't really blame him for that loss. I think they were defensive breakdowns, and there are reasons those goals were scored, but I still want him to make the save. I'm trying to be objective. I'm not going to sit here and break down every goal and say he should have had this one, he shouldn't have had this one, he should have had this one. It doesn't matter. He should have made one of those saves just because we need him to. Period.
All right, so what is this? What is this award we're giving? Player of the week?
Player of the week, Coach.
I'm up. I'm giving it to the 4th line.
That's what I was going to say. Piggyback.
Little Ed with the 4th line pick.
I think they're a big part of this whole run they've been on, and I got.
It's a huge part. Credit. It's a huge part. It takes a lot of pressure off the rest of the lineup, like I was saying before.
I think the stat against Colorado, someone said it during the game, was 2 Colorado goals. They came back with the 4th line right after the Colorado goals. Was that a stat, PJ? You're the stat guy.
No, I mean, I do recall them saying that. They do throw them out there a lot, and especially starting with the Ottawa game. I mean, even Rempe got 9 minutes that game. I mean, they're definitely – and yesterday after they tied it, Rempe got a 3rd period shift. So, I think he likes what they're doing a lot. And even if Rempe's not out there, he's throwing Kaliyev, Kreider, or Panarin, someone with a double shift. But he loves Carrick and Enstrom. You can tell.
I think it's not talked about enough. What I said before, where it's very hard to also coach against a team that's firing on all cylinders, all 4 lines. whatever, like especially a fourth line that's going to be playing that aggressively.
You guys are clowns picking the whole fourth line for the award, but
I was going to pick
right.
just Edstrom. I was going to pick just Rempe, and then you can't leave Carrick out of that, so it's the unit.
It was hard to pick. There's
That's a great
lot of
nickname
balance
for
scoring.
that line, the unit. The whole line should just be called the unit.
Pat,
Randy
as
Johnson
a collective.
line.
Yeah, as a collective, the unit. All right.
They're almost as tall as him.
Let's go to Coach Ed's Copyright Doghouse Award, sponsored by Suitors Sweet Treats. Check them out on Instagram at Suitors Sweet Treats and Etsy Double Sweets and Gifts. Use your discount code EdPod. Get 10% off plus your free doghouse cookie. I love that shirt, man. It's just so good every time. All right, Coach Ed, it's your doghouse. We're going to lead off with you. Last week you had Alexis Lafreniere in the doghouse. Is he out?
I mean, even though Meek has been playing well as of late, I got to put him in the doghouse for missing all those breakaways in the first Colorado game. That was last week.
Yeah. He's got to be in the doghouse for a number of reasons. He has 9 goals. He's in the doghouse. That's it. He's in.
Well,
for me.
is he even on the points these 3 games? Oh, he got a secondary assist.
Yep.
Against
That was
Ottawa.
exactly where I was going, Coach. I had him too.
I'm leaving him in the doghouse.
14 goals they've scored in these 3 games. Mika has 1 secondary assist.
Yeah,
he has more whiffed one-timers than points.
That one game was horrible.
He's the only forward who's consistently playing without a game-winning goal. I want to just say, that's crazy.
I mean, that Colorado game yesterday, he's got to get that power play goal to win it. That's he's got to be, he's got to put one in early.
Here's the quick stat for everyone. Courtesy of Stephen Pappas on Twitter. Before being put on Mika's line on January 9th, Will Cooley was 4th on the team in points with 24 and 1st in plus minus. Since being put on the line with Mika, Cooley has 3 points in 9 games and is a -4. Only player during that span with a worse plus minus, Mika Zibanejad.
Unbelievable.
Wow, that's a good one.
Chris is going to say it's a
good pick up there, PJ.
He did already.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
I knew it. He's going to point out how one of those minuses was it doesn't matter, Chris. The facts are the facts. I love
That's what I said, Chris.
You're right, Chris.
He misses Kako for sure.
Yeah, definitely. But
maybe
look,
he misses Hedel. He might be missing Hedel.
His shooting percentage went down. His real production is somewhere in between. What concerns me is the minus. I mean, Zibanejad's -25. I don't really care about plus minus that much, but -25, how's it even happen? It's only been not even 50 games. How are you -25 in 49 games? It's crazy. It's just crazy. So,
Cousin Ed going to the plus minus stat. Look at you.
Little Ed, where are you at with the doghouse? You got Mika
I'm going
too?
Mika I said it before. I'm going with you guys, Mika, for sure.
Yeah. Little Ed's in a piggyback mood tonight.
I'm going last, and they're kind of not obvious picks, but
it was hard not
Mika's
to
an
put the
obvious
whole
pick.
team on for that last goal yesterday, though.
No, Mika's in there. All right, we got a 150. We have a fantasy 150 here.
Are we doing a play of the week? Because you got to give Rempe's breakaway goal the play of the week. That backhand, come on.
Sure,
you got to mention that goal.
In honor of PJ joining the show, we'll bring back all the awards for next week. How about that?
All right, that's got to be. I got to mention that Rempe backhander, man. That was,
we did when we talked about Rempe 5 minutes ago.
We didn't harp on it enough.
That was a sick goal.
It was
really
phenomenal.
Anyway, yeah, we'll bring the awards back next week, Coach. I hate doing that because the team's been playing well, and I'm very superstitious. But if you must,
let's see. Superstition. You got the Zibanejad Stadium Series jersey. What has he done since then?
No, I got the Kreider And since then, his back is broken, and he has 2 assists.
You didn't get his Zibanejad jersey?
He needs to, coach. That's the key.
If I get his Zibanejad jersey, he will get traded. So if you want him to get traded, somebody buy me a Mika Zibanejad jersey, mail it to me.
I could have sworn you got a
And he will get
Zibanejad. Who got a
traded.
Zibanejad recently? Nobody?
Mike
Mike
Constantine.
Constantine. Mikey produces.
Awkwardly, I do have a Mika jersey over there.
He's like turning the camera.
Yeah.
I have a Mika.
It's autographed though.
It is.
I have a Mika and Kreider jersey plaque from the workshop available if anybody wants it.
For free shipping.
was gonna say
I don't know
93%
free, but
off.
I'll do a giveaway for sure.
Free shipping. Price is free.
Yeah, maybe I'll do a giveaway. That's a good idea.
If he scores a goal.
You gotta give them away together though, because we know they can't be separated. So it's got to be.
And then you got to make one with a question mark. You have Kreider, Mika, and then a jersey. Who's the third? Who's the winger?
Yeah.
That we're
Yeah.
searching for.
Bushnevich.
Oh, Bushnevich. How I
Could've been.
missed it. Anyway, see, PJ's a Bushnevich guy.
Of course.
All right, let's turn it to Mike
Hey.
P for the fantasy.
I've been trying to replace him since they traded him.
Gentlemen, welcome back to the Rangers Head Fantasy Hockey 150. Jumping right into some news, we've had our first blockbuster trade of the NHL season between the Carolina Hurricanes, the Colorado Avalanche, and their third-party broker, the Chicago Blackhawks. For fantasy purposes, the big highlights of this trade, that Taylor Hall and Mikko Rantanen are now playing for the Carolina Hurricanes, while Marty Necas and Jack Drury are now in Avalanche uniforms. The Avs did try and get a deal with Rantanen done, but ultimately came up short, and it was the correct managerial decision to move on from him, especially considering the return of Marty Necas has 1 year left on his contract. Aaron Ekblad put up a goal and assists for the Cats in his return to the lineup after missing 7 games, and Nico Hischier left Saturday's game against the Montreal Canadiens early and is now listed as day-to-day. So fantasy owners should take note and keep an eye on that situation. Finally, as a piece of general news, there does appear to be some sort of bug going around the NHL with many players being listed out with an illness. So keep an eye on those rosters as many of these players are being ruled out close to game time, which may impact your fantasy rosters. On the waiver wire this week, first up, we have Jesperi Kotkaniemi of the Carolina Hurricanes. Kotkaniemi has been promoted to second-line duty alongside Andrei Svechnikov and Eric Robinson and is owned in only 2% of Yahoo leagues. He put up 4 goals in 4 games played last week, and he is listed at the center position. When scoring goals, Kotkaniemi does have good fantasy coverage, especially in scoring formats that reward face-off wins. Second on the list, we have Yuri Kulich of the Buffalo Sabres, owned in only 1% of Yahoo leagues. He's playing first-line center and second power play for the Buffalo Sabres. But as always with Buffalo players, they do carry moderate risk in fantasy format because the Sabres are liable to tank at any moment. Third and final pick, we have Mason McTavish of the Anaheim Ducks, owned in only 8% of Yahoo leagues. McTavish has put up 5 goals in his last 3 games, including 2 in each of his last 2. But just like with Sabres players, Anaheim Ducks players also carry certain risks in fantasy formats because the Ducks are also not a very good team. He does, however, have great category coverage with shots, PIMs, face-off wins, and the occasional hits and blocks on top of his scoring. Finally, as always, we got to shout out some fantastic performances from last week. And same as last week, we are starting off with David Pastrnak, who has not cooled down one bit and has put up 3 goals and 5 assists in his last 4 games. In the month of January, he's also assisted on 6 of 7 of Morgan Geeky's goals, so he is also functioning as a sugar daddy for that Bruins first line. Second on the list, and as we previously mentioned, we have Mason McTavish, who scored 5 goals in 3 games last week, including 2 in each of his last 2. Not much to say there other than tip of the hat. Last up on the list, we have Tendy Cam Talbot of the Detroit Red Wings. Talbot played 2 games last year with wins in each of them, one against the red-hot Montreal Canadiens and the second against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Talbot surrendered only 2 goals through 56 shots faced in those 2 games with a combined .966 save percentage. Folks, we got lots of great hockey coming up this week, so make sure to tune in next week for more fantasy news, updates, and insights. This has been your 150.
Wow, that might have actually been 150 seconds by Mikey there. Good fantasy
was.
insight. Wow, that's impressive, Mikey. Good job.
Well,
good fantasy insight.
A little cheat code I came up with is I speeded up to 1.2 for Mikey, so he doesn't have to cut any content, but I speed it up just enough that you can't tell, and we get an extra minute out of him.
Ah,
Yeah, well,
impressive.
Mikey's got to follow his his own advice, he trails me still by 10 points in the fantasy league for first place, by the way. So just a little nod there to myself. But anyway, let's take a look at the upcoming schedule here. The Rangers, they have 6 games until the Four Nations face-off. We're already seeing guys dropping out of the Four Nations face-off. I think Pietrangelo dropped out, so we'll see if other guys do. But we got 3 games here next week. Carolina at home on Tuesday. You don't got the graphic with the music?
Oh yeah, my bad.
I want to hear the Italian music while I talk. There it is. So we got Carolina on Tuesday. Big game, obviously. Then Boston on Saturday. So a couple days off. And then back-to-back Vegas on Sunday. That's probably where we'll see Jonathan Quick next in that Vegas game. But as he looks for win number 400, I mean, guys, like the schedule doesn't lighten up. After that, it's Boston again and Pittsburgh and Columbus, 2 teams the Rangers are battling with. So points are precious right now, and it's harder and harder as the season goes on. So Carolina, Boston, and Vegas this week. Let's do our predictions. Let's start with Little Ed because we always end with Little Ed on the Stars of the Week. So we'll start with you with these predictions here. Predict these 3 games, Little Ed. What's the record? Are we doing it game by game or just overall record?
What do you got? What do you think, PJ?
Probably just overall record. It's just
Overall
simpler.
record?
And then we can keep track, and then we'll see who's
I'll
cooking by the end
go.
of the year.
I'll go 2-0-1. I got wins against Carolina and Boston, overtime loss to Vegas.
All right, I'm gonna say 1-1-1. PJ, what do you got?
I'm gonna go 2-1. I think they'll beat Carolina. They're due. I think they'll beat Boston, and that Vegas game is tough. I feel bad because it's probably gonna be Jonathan Quick going for 400 again.
Yeah.
But I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's 3-0 because they need it. But 2-1 would be solid too.
All right, Coach. Where are you at?
I'm gonna go with let's go 2-0-1.
Coach with the 2-0-1. All right, so
You
PJ,
got the same.
hopefully you track that.
I will. We'll follow up
All
next
right.
week and see where everyone stands, and we'll do it again.
Yeah.
Big news for Rangers fans. I've been getting a lot of complaints every time I put a game day post. I feel like someone else messages me like, where can I watch these games? Like they're not on cable anymore, blah, blah, blah. So good news for them Saturday and Sunday next weekend or this weekend. We got 2 nationally televised games on ESPN Plus, ABC on Saturday against the Bruins at 3:30. And then on Sunday, you got NHL TNT and Max. So head on over to YouTube if you guys don't watch the podcast. I have a nice graphic with all the information on the games. And as usual, our game day post will be brought to you by Sorrento's in Long Beach. Get your game day meal, delicious custom pizza pies and other Italian American treats. Nice coffee shop as well. And also Blue Line Blue Shirts and Anxiety New York Rangers helped me out with the game day post as well. So thank you to them as well.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if any.
I like that little thing where you show where the games are. The other thing you can put on is what radio station they're on. It would help. Because I'm driving in the freaking car, I can never find what station they're on the radio.
Nobody listens to the radio anymore, Coach.
You got to
play it
get
on your-
You can listen
Play it
to
on
them
your
the
phone
NHL
through the
app
Bluetooth.
now.
or
Yeah.
Sirius XM. All the NHL now or NHL has all the stations.
If you go on the NHL
Right.
app, you can listen to the radio through that. You also can play it on your phone video and just not watch it and just Bluetooth it to your car. There's a million things you can do, Coach.
I want to hear Dave Maloney.
It's 2025.
So I think Dave Maloney's on 98.6 or something like that.
It's the NHL app. Just download the NHL app and you can play it through there. Easy peasy.
Chris said that too in the chat. So
Yeah, so let's see. Oscar here posts the Rangers sellers before Four Nations are after. Let's see what happens here. If any moves get made this week, the JT Miller rumors have not died. We have not heard any updates, but it's still pretty. I don't know. There's a lot of friction still in Vancouver, so something's going to give there eventually. Let's see what happens there.
now I'm
Elliot
seeing
Friedman
Pedersen is getting shopped instead.
What did Friedman say?
He almost went to Carolina, Elias Peterson. But Elliot Friedman said today that multiple times on his podcast that the Rangers are not done and to keep an eye out for them, essentially.
Yeah, well, I'd hope not, because this is not a finished product by any stretch. So we'll see what Drury's got up his sleeve. Let's see if the fans will complain about it. I'm sure they will, no matter what he does. But we will see. And all right, boys, enjoy watching some hockey. Order your Sorrentos. Thank you to our sponsors. As usual, you make this podcast go. Thank you to our loyal listeners for joining us every Monday. And we'll be back next week. Thanks, PJ, as well, for joining the show.
Yeah,
Yeah,
great
great
job,
having
PJ.
Thanks for having me,
Great
boys.
job, fellas, all around. Good work.
See you next
All right.
week. Go Rangers.
Let's go
Rangers.
Rangers.
Good
Looking
work,
forward to
boys.
another big week. Love you guys.